Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Commerce Committee. Today's Tuesday, March 30th, best I can tell. I'm Kevin Vaughn. I'll be your host today. And if we could, we're going to call this committee to order. And Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Representatives Alexander, Boyd, Calfee, Camper, Faison, Haston, Hazelwood, Hodges, Holsclaw, Johnson, Lynn, Manis, Moon, Powell, Powers, Sparks, Thompson, Towns, Zachary, Vice Chairman Bricken, Chairman Vaughn.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All righty. It's good to see everybody today. Before we get started, we're looking for personal orders if there's any out there lurking. Looking for personal orders, seeing none. I will say this, I wish my daughter and son-in-law a happy anniversary today. That was quite the event a couple of years back. Speaking of other events, I do not see, very close, very close. We're going through our calendar today. We're going to begin with House Bill 771. I do not see Leader Lamberth here, but Chairman Haston is going to be running this one for him. Chairman Haston, let's see. Do we have a motion or a second on this bill? A motion, second on the bill. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this does have an amendment 4900.
All righty. What we'll do is, would you like to talk about the amendment, or would you like it established to the bill? And then
The amendment makes the bill.
Okay. Well, then let's just talk about the amendment.
All right. This administration bill seeks to improve the registered apprenticeship system in Tennessee by establishing a state apprenticeship agency. Tennessee would be the 27th state in the nation to do so if this passes. The application process would be streamlined, and this would help increase the completion rates of the apprenticeship program. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All righty. Thank you, Chairman Haston. Do we have any questions regarding the amendment? Seeing none, we'll call the question on the amendment. All those in favor of attaching Amendment 1 to House Bill 771, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none. Amendments on there. Now we're going to talk about House Bill 771. Do we have any questions on the entire bill? Representative Lynn.
I absolutely love this. And can you just explain how will businesses know how to get on the apprenticeship list, or is it the apprentice who registers on the list?
I believe it will be the apprentices that would register on this.
Okay, and not the business. Okay, thank you.
All righty. Any other questions? Seeing none, we're calling the question on House Bill 771. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. House Bill 771 is off to GovOps.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. Next up is House Bill 440 with Representative Griffey. Do we have a motion and a second on 441? Motion. We got a motion and a second. Representative Griffey, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is my bill to try to impose a fee on foreign money transfers. And, I recognize I don't have the votes to get this passed right now. What I would just want to point out for the committee, and I think the problem is now becoming apparent. We don't have all the data to determine how much of these are foreign money transfers by illegals versus U.S. citizens or whatever, but we are getting more data. I understand that. We do have data that $15.47 billion was initiated for transfers from Tennessee to foreign countries. How much of that was by U.S. citizens, taxpayers, or not, we don't know. But it's estimated that maybe 20% of those might be by folks here illegally. They have an unfair tax advantage over our constituents, and that's what concerns me. And I've been trying to push this issue for 3 years now, and I would love for this committee and leadership to address this. My constituents, I feel like, would like this addressed, so I just submit the bill to the will of the committee.
All righty. Thank you, sir. And committee, I want to bring y'all up to speed on where this bill has been through the sub process, and I think we've got a resolution for it. But we received a fiscal note that was dubious at best. It was, and when I say that, it proffered the idea that illegals, there's an estimated 135,000 illegals in Tennessee, and it proffered the supposition that each man, woman, and child that's here in Tennessee would making 216 wire transfers a year, which seems unlikely. But at the same time, we have been talking about the fact that this bill has some degree of merit. It's an idea that needs further investigation. And one of our issues is that frankly, we don't know the volume. We don't know what it is that we're talking about with regards to the size or the scope or the scale of any problem and how it's best addressed, whether it's best addressed through presentation of identification, whether there's a fee collected, those type things. I've spoken with the bill sponsor. I've spoken with several other of our committee members. The Department of Financial Institutions, as a result of the actions of this General Assembly, has begun collecting data with regards to the wire transfer activity within the state. Unfortunately, that data is not going to be the first month that it's going to be available for is April of this coming year, or of this present year, so next month. We won't have that by the time, hopefully, that the General Assembly goes into recess. Don't say that, Chairman Hazelwood. But let's say by the time this committee closes, let's put it that way. However, by the time we go back into session next summer, we will have hard data that we can take a look at, and rather than us go through a process of continually trying to amend this bill, we may be getting the information that warrants different activities. And again, I've talked to the sponsor about it. We've had conversation before in sub about this. It's kind of a subject matter that we actually do need more information on. The information is coming, and then we need to determine with that information what the best course of action is. And so, Representative Towns, you're recognized.
So, Mr. Chairman, with you couching it as such, it would appear that we have maybe a couple of options. We could give ourselves enough time by rolling it until next year, first, second calendar. We could also put it in summer study to essentially gather the data that you're talking about.
That was where I was going, Representative Towns, and in speaking with the bill sponsor, we don't know what that data is going to reveal as the best course of action is. So if we roll it to next year's calendar,
Right.
we may be looking at substantial revisions through amendments anyway. If we just summer study it, we can come back, have the data, and the member could craft legislation that he felt like addressed what we learned during that time period.
Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll just motion a summer study. That's okay.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Without objection, we're going to, excuse me, you're recognized, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would look forward to working with any members on this committee to try to address this once we get that data. I just think this is an important issue that the state of Tennessee should address. I appreciate the chairman's comments and willing to look at this issue and the committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And so without objection, this is Representative Sparks, you're recognized.
Real quick, I agree with Representative Towns. I appreciate you bringing this legislation. It's a serious issue. The crisis down there at the border is a serious issue. Leakage as far as economic monies going out of our state and out of our country is a serious issue. I appreciate your tenacity to carry this, and hopefully we could do a real summer study and really come back with some credible information and data on it. Thank you.
Loved it. Thank you.
Representative Powell, was that a salutation towards someone, or you wish to be recognized?
I was trying to be recognized.
Okay.
I disagree with some of the comments. I do not think that this is a pertinent issue that we need to be focused on. I think it's important that we should recognize if we put these types of fees in, then monies will be transferred. We have a lot of different new technologies that are emerging where monies will still be transferred, but they might not be in a level that we have the transparency that we have with these money transmitters. And I just think that we need to keep that in mind too. So I just want to be on the record to say, I do not think this is an issue. I'm fine, want to send it to summer study, but I just want to be on the record to say I have concerns and issues with this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and let the journal reflect such. Without objection, this bill is headed to summer study.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the
Yes,
committee.
sir. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we're headed to House Bill 1064 by Chairman Curcio. Once sanitation procedures have been concluded. All right, Chairman Curcio, do we have a motion or a second for this bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Stand by. I'm waiting for my motion and my second. Motion and a second. You are in great shape here. Let's talk about House Bill 1064.
Thank you, sir. And I also have an amendment which makes the bill. I'd like to move it this morning. It's coded 4332.
All right, motion on the amendment. We got a second. You're in good shape, sir. Let's go.
Thank you, sir. Members, this bill will provide landlords with protections against claims of negligence in renting, leasing, or otherwise extending housing opportunities to formerly incarcerated individuals. But the protections under this bill will not apply in situations where the landlord knew that the person was convicted of a violent or a violent sexual offense, or if that person is subsequently convicted of a violent or a violent sexual offense. So all we're doing here is we're trying to make landlords feel more comfortable in leasing or renting to someone who may have had a criminal history but has gotten their life back in order. 2-3 weeks ago now, I attended an event with Representative Manis and several others from the Knox County delegation where a reentry facility was being built. And the man who was very involved in the nonprofit that helped get that going has become a very successful business person. He's now on into his 50s, but he committed a nonviolent offense in his early 20s. So he does have that felony. Actually, he was pardoned by President Trump, but until that pardon came through, he had that felony on his record. He made a point. He said, I own all of the real estate on this block, but I couldn't rent an apartment on this block. So we just want to make sure that if somebody's doing what they can do to try to get their life back on track, that a landlord at least doesn't have the hesitancy for fear of a negligence claim simply because that person has been, justice involved in the past. So with that, I'd take any questions.
All righty, thank you, sir. I think we've got a good picture of it. Do we have any questions for the bill sponsor? Any questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. On the amendment. On the amendment. All those in favor of amendment number 1, heading on being placed on Bill 1064, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Amendment's on. Any questions on the bill? Representative Lynn.
I think this is a great bill. And so I guess what you're saying is applicants fill out a application to rent the apartment. They check, yes, I have been prior conviction for a felony. And then some landlords are reticent. Oftentimes notifying the landlords of this change in law that will help them, that can be a difficulty. Do we know how landlords might become knowledgeable about this law once this passes? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, if I may. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will say this, the bill as amended is endorsed by the Tennessee Apartment Association. So I would be happy to work with them to make sure that they maybe get the message out to their membership. But your point's well taken. There is some hesitancy there. And so we just want them to know that they can move forward with confidence and not open themselves up to just a simple negligence claim.
Seeing no more questions, I think we're ready to vote on 1064. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. 1064 is off the calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Next item on our calendar today is House Bill 1044 being brought to us by Representative Hall. Representative Hall, good to see you today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and colleagues.
Please share with us, I believe you're also bringing an amendment, correct?
That is correct. The draft
Motion and a second on the amendment. 4984?
4984, sir.
Sir, we are all on the same page, so let's
Yes,
see
sir.
what you got for us today, Representative Hall. You're recognized.
House Bill 1044. Currently, Mr. Chairman, there's 5 members on the Public Utilities Commission. This would, House Bill 1044 would add 2 additional members and also extend the amount of time from 30 days to 90 days to fill those appointments.
All righty. Do we have any questions for Representative Hall on this bill? Seeing none, we're going to call the questions on the amendment first and get that attached to the bill. All those in favor of Amendment 1, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Amendments on the bill. Now, questions on the bill. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Hall, why do we feel there's a need to expand the members on this, on the Public Utilities Board?
This was a
Representative Hall,
cleanup
you're
bill.
recognized.
This was handed to me by the speaker. It was just to expand the Public Utilities Commission and just add 2 additional members.
Does it take,
Leader Camper.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, does it take into account, where the people, appointed to the board would come, like would it be from the west, east, middle? Is there any, language about how they will be appointed to make it even across the state with respect to representation on the board?
Representative Hall.
I'm not sure of the motivation behind it, but I anticipate that was the reasoning to expanding the board, is to make sure that every area of the state of Tennessee was covered.
Thank you.
That's right. Later in the one qualifier that I've seen in this amendment is the fact that these individuals do not have experience in the utility industry. So it appears as if they would be consumer driven, but you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And based on what you just said from the community, I think that has merit. Is there some diversity type of inclusion language or something to make sure that we have diversity of thought as well, representative of the community?
Representative Hall.
It's my belief that these commission appointments are approved by the General Assembly. So if there's any objection to that, we can certainly address that.
Allow me to interject, Leader Camper. This comes from the amendment, and I think it addresses the exact concern that you're dealing with.
Okay.
To quote, it says, in making appointments pursuant to subsection A, the governor, the speaker of the Senate, the speaker of the House will strive to ensure that Tennessee Public Utility Commission is composed of commissioners who are diverse in professional or educational background, ethnicity, geographic residence, perspective, and experience.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Hall.
Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Have we already attached that amendment? Well, then let's just vote on the real bill then. House Bill 1044, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, House Bill 1044 heads off to finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members.
Well, look who we got. Well, he's my neighbor, man. I won't do that to him. You're properly sanitized, Representative Hicks. Please approach the podium and let's discuss House Bill 704. We got a motion and a second, sir. I see no amendments. Have you amended your bill since we had a printed calendar?
No, I haven't.
Well, then let's get on with it, my friend. Tell us about House Bill 704, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, to erect a sign in Tennessee that costs more than $25,000, you are required to have a contractor's license. These days, everything's going up. A lot of signs are digital and they're costing more, and they are exceeding $25,000. So this happens a lot, and it's really hurting our small businesses. These are our sign companies that maybe do our campaign signs and such, and they're growing businesses, and just having to go get a contractor's license to put up a larger sign is a little bit overbearing. A lot of them are actually circumventing the law and getting the contractor that they may be working with on the job to get the permit for them. So this is something that we really don't want them to have to do. So they miss out on a lot of big jobs. Most of your municipalities and your counties, they turn in and submit engineered drawings. Those are, okayed and signed off on, and then everything is inspected. That should be good enough to put up a sign. we believe that sign companies just sort of maybe got lumped in with contractors somehow. So this law would take care of that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on the bill.
Thank you, sir. And for the benefit of the committee members, the one area that you could see the fact that there may be a need for contractor's license would be in some of the larger signs that you see erected around the interstate, not necessarily billboards, but people wanting to get up, have elevation and more substantial signage. But I would like to point out that typically these signs come with engineered shop drawings by the manufacturer that have taken into account the design standards. And so it's not as if we've got someone out there installing these very expensive signs, making it up as they go. It's a controlled environment that they install these in. And so I want to thank you for bringing this bill, because I think this will help a lot of folks without any issues to the public.
Thank you, Chairman.
Do I hear any other questions? Question on the bill. Question's been called. All those in favor of House Bill 704, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? No. 704 heads the calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Representative Towns. Next up, we see House Bill 1497 from you, sir. And I would say that I can hear you just fine where you are. So if you'd like to.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that.
We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're in proper posture.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chairman, members, what this is really a public safety bill as it relates to pyrotechnics and training. As you can recall, looking around the country and even now backyard, there have been some accidents, some real accidents that could have been real fatal. So the bill has already passed the Senate, but the bill is simply to increase the experience requirement for pyrotechnicians that are doing indoor and or outdoor effects for the public, like you see at sporting events and concerts. The department and the industry have gotten together on this bill after the accident that happened at the Titans. Some of y'all may remember that little incident. That could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't, thank God. And they came up with the legislation that we're seeking for additional training. The bill also takes the license from 2-year licensure to a 3-year license as requested by the department. And this does not impact the municipalities' displays during the 4th of July. It does not in any way affect consumer sales as well. Other change in the bill demonstrates that there must be 3 shows in 3 years. However, the display would not change, but we are proposing indoor pyrotechnic license to allow 5 shows in 3 years, and for flame, the operator license 5 in 3 years as well. The statute has not been updated, just FYI, since the last 15 years, and it does not impact the statute in terms of increasing fees. Currently, the fees are $150, and that's what it stays at. That kind of gives you an idea of what they're seeking to do, and as I said, is really to try to make sure that people are trained when they're dealing with this potentially very dangerous stuff, and make sure that we keep our public safe. That, Mr. Chairman, I'll entertain any questions.
All righty. Thank you, sir. I think we have a question from Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the sponsor, is the fire marshal, have they signed on to this? Are they good with this bill?
They are, sir. Good question. I actually had some input into this bill as well.
Representative Powers, Chairman Powers, I'm sorry.
Okay. We had a bill, something like this. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, and I think it got revised or anything. Do you remember the bill? Is this the same bill that we had, and we had to make some corrections to it?
Chairman, unfortunately,
Representative Towns.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, Chairman, I can't recall that. I vaguely remember, but don't want to tell you anything that's not correct. So, but this is fresh, and I think what sparked this thing is probably the incident that happened with the Titans Stadium, and we just want to make sure that we want people to have an out and have a great time, but we want to be safe. We want to go home and be safe.
All right.
Chairman Powers, there was a bill last year, and I think it was progressing, and I think the COVID must have hit it.
Okay. I thought there was. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
boy.
Thank you. Thank you, sponsor.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. Any other questions of the bill sponsor? Seeing none, we're calling the question on House Bill 1497 to send it on to finance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Hearing none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
1497 is off to finance. Well, this brings us to the conclusion of our calendar with House Bill 390. Representative Harris, I thought I saw him step in. Sir, you will be recognized if you make it to the podium. Motion and second on House Bill 390. Representative Harris, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chairman. And so this bill is HB 0390. And I was so gracious to be able to see this one come out of subcommittee. This one is in regards to prohibiting against disconnecting services for non-payment on a legal holiday. And that it would also cause a company or utility company to have to establish a policy on disconnection of services for non-payment, which most utility organizations already have a disconnect policy. And then lastly, it would require that if someone pays a bill, that they are not cut off for more than 24 hours after they've corrected that non-payment. And so after speaking with the committee and a lot of members on the committee and actually some of the utility organizations, I do want to work with them a little bit more to make sure that this is something that we can actually do to better the lives and help other people. And so I think that's all of our mission. And so for that, I'm going to go ahead and pull this one off notice for this time.
All righty. Thank you, Representative Harris.
Thank you.
House Bill 390 is off notice. And that concludes today's work. You can turn your time sheets in at the Sergeant of Arms and make sure you get credit for it. Yes, Representative Towns.
Chairman, I'd like the way you put that. I just want to know if the members can get a raise. Can we get a raise? All the members interested in a raise your hand.
There we go. Yeah, just don't ask for overtime when we run over. We're adjourned.
All right. You're going to be the leader. Give us a raise, man. You.